Just wanted to remind you that you are completely safe to transform, okay? To become something new. Because the biggest fear that people have when it comes to any sort of transformational process is that they're scared to let go of who they used to be. And that's just what it always is. That's what it always comes down to. It's the fear of death. It's the fear of who you used to be. Now, it's impossible to take that old self with you when you transform, okay? When you're becoming a different version of who you are at a human level, some pattern that you had will be gone. And I do talk about this a lot on my channel, but the thing is that I think a lot of people don't understand that old self ain't coming with you. Now, I just wanted to remind you though, although that might sound scary to hear somebody talking about that, to hear somebody, describing these things to you, I'm just here to remind you that you're safe to transform. Because right now what's happening with the energies is that there's this desire to change the experience, the patterns. Like, oh my gosh, I need to change these patterns because I don't like this. I need to find a way to change it. But what if you were just to surrender into that feeling that you have right now? Just surrender into the feeling. Move the energy. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I don't know why my reality is not changing. I'm just experiencing the same thing again and again. It's because you're trying to change the experience. It's a paradox. If you stop trying to change the experience and just accept it for what it is, you start changing again. That's just the reality of the situation. You have to, at some point, just let go of trying to change the pattern and then let it change. Let it change. Because the universe is going to change no matter what. What stops that change is the ego. I'm just laughing because it's just so obvious once you start to awaken to the fact that it's like, oh yeah, the universe is just going to change no matter what. But again, the only thing that stops that process is the ego trying to stay stuck. Like, oh, I need to just stay stuck and keep this reality the way that it is. Why? Why are you trying to cling on to one aspect of reality and get everything you can from that one little tiny piece? There's so much more of reality to explore, not even just to get as much as you can in terms of like stealing the energy, but just, from the perspective of trying to get as much as you can and trying to stay stuck in the same patterns. That's what most people want to do. It's just stay stuck in those patterns. But what you can start to realize is that you actually get a lot more out of the situation when you're not in the same patterns. You get more out of life because consciousness is about experiencing as many new things as possible, and to get the full experience out of it. The full experience, to fully experience it. Like, you don't need to cling on to one reality to get the full experience of life, because that's actually limiting your consciousness, right? When people try to cling onto one little tiny pattern in reality, their consciousness gets limited, their life force energy is low, and the thing that they're actually after is blocked because of the persistence in being the same way. I'm not necessarily saying that you can't do the same things. I post a video every single day on my channel. I do the same thing every single day in a lot of ways. I go for a walk every single day. Not always, but a lot. I like to go for walks these days, and I do similar things each day. But the way that I'm being through all of that is always changing. I've surrendered my ego. At least in this moment, because contraction and expanding is a natural part of the universe. You think there's no going back, and then something's really powerful. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't handle that level of power and that level of abundance. And then you contract. You think there's no going back, and then you go right back into the old patterns, right? That's the way that the ego really really works is, right when you're about to expand, it's like, well, let me just find a way to self-sabotage and just, go do the same thing again. Because that's what it is, right? The ego likes to stay comfortable in its same tiny little patterns that it has known for who knows how many lifetimes. And the more contracted the ego was, and perhaps, many, many lifetimes, the harder it's going to be to reverse that momentum. But it's going to be harder not to do it. So, you may as well just do it, You may as well just expand because it's going to be harder not to. At some point also, there's a realization that the reason why you're safe to transform is because, first of all, you're going to be right here. That's actually the reason I recorded this video, and I kind of forgot, which I want to talk about right now, is that when you transform into that new version of who you are, guess what? You'll still be right here in this present moment. That's what people don't understand. You'll just be feeling a little bit different. You'll be feeling different patterns, feeling different emotions at a different level of consciousness. Not necessarily better, not necessarily worse, but different. So what's so scary about that? What are you really scared of? You're just scared of difference. That's it. You're scared of having a different experience. That's really what we're scared of, is just a different experience. So I'm here to remind you that if you've been not surrendering for a long time, just surrender. You're completely safe to surrender. That's what I'm here to remind you of. You're completely safe to surrender and let go of who you used to be and to become who you actually want to be. That's really what I'm here to remind you of today. And I needed this reminder, to be honest with you, for many years. For many years. You think I'm perfect or something? Probably not. But if anybody does, I would say, that's a huge joke. Because, there's been many times in my life where I stayed stuck in those loops, stuck in those patterns, repeating the same experiences over and over and over. And at some point, it's like, you know what? I'm safe to become something new. Because again, it's going to be harder not to do it. So what do you got to lose? May as well just shift at that point, because also we got to remember we're going to be right here. Where am I, gosh, and what am I going to become? Maybe what you're going to become, you don't know exactly how that's going to feel. But what you do know is that you'll be right here. Right here in this present moment is exactly where you'll be. And so you don't really need to be concerned, because that should be enough to ground you, right? Ground into the groundless ground. That's what one of my mentors called consciousness, as the groundless ground. The groundless ground. That's what we're here for, to ground into the groundless ground. Ground into the sense of, I am right here, right now. I don't necessarily know what's going to happen. It can get a little bit messy. It can get a little bit confusing. It can get a little bit hectic. Yet, you'll be right here. And you'll be experiencing, the fullness of life. Because you'll stop resisting one pattern of resistance. Isn't that crazy that we close off so many possibilities of abundance and joy and bliss because we're not willing to feel one set of patterns, one little feeling in the body, one feeling in existence? Oh, I don't want to feel this. And then what happens is that we just keep repeating it and feeling it forever because we don't want to feel it. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Think about it. I'm gonna say that one more time. We don't want to feel something, one set of patterns. So what we do is we resist it. And then the paradox is that we feel it over and over and over and over, possibly for lifetimes, because we're trying to avoid it. Yet we live into a self-fulfilling prophecy where we keep feeling the thing that we don't want to feel. Where if we were just to feel that emotional pattern and fully unconditionally love it, you would pass through it, you would move through it, and then you would move on to the next level. It's just that simple. It's not complicated. It's extremely simple. Reality is so simple that the ego makes it so complicated, and it looks for all these solutions. So, actually, here's what you do. Here's how you pass any test in life right here, right now. You become unconditionally aware of what's happening in your experience, and you just fully allow it. And it's just that simple. It doesn't contradict boundaries and telling people that perhaps you need your own space. It doesn't mean that you tolerate bad experiences. It just means that you unconditionally are aware of what's in your field of consciousness, and you simply accept the isness of this present moment. And from that space, you can do anything. You can take any action you need to take, and you can do whatever you got to do. And you'll move on to many different levels that perhaps you were closed off to because you were resisting one small set of patterns. One set of patterns. I'm gonna make this very clear. Do you want to block off so much abundance in your life because of one set of patterns that you're not willing to feel? Is that what you want to do? Of course not. So my invitation to you to conclude this video is to simply surrender to unconditional awareness and accept your experience. Move through the experience. One thing that my mentor also shared with me is that, Francis, the only way out is through. And to me, I was like, that makes sense. Because the only way out is through. Anything that you resist, the only way out of that experience is to move through it. Because on some level of consciousness, you chose that experience. So if you choose an experience and you start the mission, you have to complete the mission. You have to complete the mission, right? But it's the mission of consciousness and existing everything that will ever be experienced for infinity. And you agree to that. Because what else are you going to do as the creator of life, right? So you got to complete the mission. You got to complete the mission, and you got to follow through and finish what you started. So the only way out is through. And with that, I conclude this video. Once again, if you want to work with me one-on-one personally, hit the link that's in the description box of this video to apply for a free consultation. Also, please leave a comment down below if this video was supportive for you in some ways. I love to read the comments, and I read every single one. Also, please hit the like button for me so that more people can get access to this content, because I do believe that every single person on this planet does deserve to know that they are divine creators of their reality, and that they can manifest their reality in the most effortless and easeful way possible. And hit that like button. Does help the YouTube algorithm push the videos out to more people, and that would be greatly appreciated. As always, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next